Not gonna lie, guys, coming into the transfer window, I did not anticipate that Benjamin Sesko would be leading the front line for Manchester United this summer. But as you lot know, here we go. Or here we Sesko. Whichever one you want to say, Benjamin Sesko to Manchester United for a huge sum of 85 million euros. That is the overall package that Manchester United have agreed with RB Leipzig. 75 million euros plus 10 million in add-ons. I don't know how achievable those add-ons will be, but Benjamin Sesko gets his move away from RB Leipzig. That's a total package of about 73 million pounds, give or take, which makes him in the top 10 of most expensive Premier League forwards that have joined. And if you lot didn't know, out of the top 15 most expensive forwards that have joined the Premier League, 7 of them have joined Manchester United, and the track record isn't really that great. So Benjamin Sesko has a lot to do, but I'm starting to feel a bit optimistic about it. I'm not gonna lie. I do still think it's a huge fee for a team that have a struggling and an aging midfield partnership of Casemiro. Bruno Fernandes, for me, is not a natural 8. And also Ugarte, who's quite limited, and Kobbie Mainoo, who's still figuring himself out in the Ruben Amorim system. I think it's a lot of money to spend on a striker that wasn't your first choice striker. But we all know that Manchester United have monitored him for quite some time, especially at his time at Salzburg, when he didn't feel like it was right for him to move to Manchester United, and he chose to move to RB Leipzig. Now, Arsenal were interested in him last summer and this summer, and it's quite funny that both the strikers that end up at Arsenal and at Manchester United should have gone the opposite direction. Sesko was linked to Arsenal a lot. Gyökeres was linked to Manchester United a lot. But it looks like it's the opposite that's happening. And both managers get their striker. Now, Benjamin Sesko can 2 years in a row, double-digit goals in the Bundesliga. But it's been incremental increases. It hasn't been a huge kind of fluctuation in numbers. It didn't go from being, small double digits, 10, 11 goals to 22, 23 in the Bundesliga. And I think what Manchester United need right now is proven goal scorers. They brought that in with Mbeumo and Cunha, who have done it in the Premier League, but I think it's a bigger risk when you're signing someone from another league, and a league, in my opinion, who has had players leave that league and join the Premier League and have not impressed. Let's be honest. Now, it might not be solely Manchester United, but we've seen Nkunku, we've seen the likes of Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, etc. Players that have come from the Bundesliga for big price tags that necessarily haven't exceeded that level or even surpassed it or even matched that level that they were expected to. And at Manchester United, it's not like those other teams. The pressure is a lot bigger, especially in a team that have been so horrendous, that have had a horrendous season. Benjamin Sesko is coming in with a huge expectation in my opinion, and some people might feel like, oh, he's young, 22 years old, give him time to hit the ground running, and some people might think, no, you come in as a Manchester United striker with this much experience under your belt, you hit the ground running right now. And I don't like the fact that people like to compare him to Rasmus Højlund, where Man United spent big mistakenly on Rasmus Højlund, but I actually think Sesko's a better player now that Man United are getting than what Højlund was when Manchester United bought him 2 years ago. And I don't know where Højlund's future lies at Manchester United. Is probably away from Manchester United, but that is also an example of why probably data metrics and potential don't always work when buying a player for a big fee. I look at Benjamin Sesko and I look at Bryan Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha. I think those three packaged together can be a great front line, and it's quite a fluid and interchangeable one, where I think Man United could play with a front 2 and one person in the 10, and then that way that 10 can support the 2 sitting midfielders in Bruno and whoever it may be. And I think, especially with Benjamin Sesko at Leipzig, playing off of Openda quite often, and Openda was the guy that made the runs, and Sesko was the guy that kind of drove progressively with the ball and took shots from outside of the box. That could be the case with Cunha or Mbeumo, whoever he plays with in that 2-man front line. I do prefer Man United to play with a 2-man front line, but I don't know how likely that will be. And I think another thing is that Manchester United weren't linked to Sesko heavily throughout the window. They were interested in him small last summer, but the main target was Arsenal. Arsenal wanted him last summer, and I think it's quite interesting that I think Man United's hand has been slightly forced here to go and sign Benjamin Sesko, because Man United wanted Liam Delap. I think Liam Delap, I always say this, I think he was the do or die for Manchester United, because he's quite similar in terms of the profile and the attributes that he has to Benjamin Sesko, quite different as well, but also he's a lot more cheaper. So So I think Man United had their eggs in that basket of signing Liam Delap, and it didn't work out. And then from there, it went to Gyökeres, it went to Ollie Watkins. There's been murmurs of, Nicholas Jackson and Mateta maybe, and then Benjamin Sesko popping up in the last week or so. I genuinely feel like Man United's hand has been forced to sign a striker, but also I don't think that they would go and make this decision so rashly and for this price tag without thoroughly thinking it through. Do I think Man United need a striker? Yes, I think they do. But do I think Man United need a midfielder more? 100%. Now, I don't know where this leaves Manchester United in the transfer window. This will take Man United's spending to £200 million. Yes, £200 million spent on 3 attackers. And I say this all the time. I've said this on my stream in the last couple of days. I do believe that maybe Manchester United are trying to fix one thing at a time in that front, in the starting 11. So now they've fixed the front line. Next it will be the midfield. And then it will be the little tweaks that they need to do to the squad depth and the quality in the squad depth. But I still think that Benjamin Sesko, €85 million package, a £73 million package, is a big fee for a striker. And we've seen Manchester United pay these fees before for players that have not subsidised into being good players. And I think a lot of pressure is on Ineos and Manchester United to get it right this time, because I don't think Man United have the luxury of time for Ruben Amorim. I think Ruben Amorim needs his best 11, the strongest 11 that Manchester United can build him, so that one game a week Man United can benefit from that and try and finish in a respectable position in the top half, in the top half of the top half, and try to finish top 6 to get back into a European spot for next season. And Benjamin Sesko has to, in my opinion, come in and score double-digit goals in the league. I don't know if you lot feel the same. I don't want to say, we shouldn't put too much pressure on him, etc. But he's coming in with a price tag, and he's clearly, wanted the move to Manchester United. And it's a huge jump going from Leipzig to Manchester United. It's a huge jump going from the Bundesliga to the Premier League when it comes to, not just strikers, but, the quality of the players, the quality of the defenders that you're coming up against, the physicality of it, all these different attributes. It's a huge jump to go from one to another. But Man United need goals. I mean, combined, Man United scored 44 goals last season. You can't then go out and spend 200 million on 3 players in your front line and be like, oh, you know what? I don't mind if, my number 9 doesn't score 10 goals in the league. And I don't mind if the rest of them only contribute 10 to 12 goals each. That cannot happen. That cannot happen. And I know that sounds quite contradictory, because in one end, I'm like, oh, Man United need to kind of gauge the team and try and get the team to mesh. But also they need the team to mesh quite quickly so that Man United can utilise this one season that they have of just one game a week. And hopefully those frontline players will be able to work together. Now, I was never keen on Benjamin Sesko. I will back him, but I was never keen on Benjamin Sesko just because the price tag I felt was too much for a young player. I didn't think he was proven enough. And I felt like if Man United got money to spend on strikers the same way they got money to spend on Mbeumo and Cunha, why don't you go out and spend another 40-50 million on a proven striker like Mateta? Mateta was always my preference. My number 1 choice was Victor Osimhen. It was never going to happen. And then it was Mateta. However, now I've warmed up to the idea of Benjamin Sesko because it's happening. So you kind of have to, I think we kind of have to accept it. Number 1, the data metrics, and you lot know I love data metrics. The data metrics suggest that he has a high ceiling and he has high quality. But let's be so honest, Man United have just spent this money on the potential of what he's going to become. And like I said, there's a risk in that element. It's a big risk, but it could be a big reward as well. Let me know your expectations on Benjamin Sesko to Manchester United. Are you happy that Manchester United have signed a striker? Are you concerned about the price tag? Let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe as well if you're new here.